Hello YouTube, this is the Dbtgamer Show, episode 158, part 3. Today I'm reviewing Pokemon Soul Silver. If you haven't watched part 1, go back and watch them. I've almost finished reviewing the game. In part 1, I talked about the Pokewalker and the graphics of the game and the multiplayer. In part 2, I covered most of my stuff. In this part, I will be finishing off the review. Now, let's pick up left off. I just finished off talking about Pokemon eggs. Now I'm going to talk about berries. Now, in the original Pokemon Silver, throughout the game you found berry trees, and depending on which tree you found, you either found a berry or an apricorn. Well, in this game it works slightly different. If you want to find berries in the game, you have to collect items called shards, and you take these shards and give them to a certain person throughout the game, and you can get loads and loads of berries. The apricorns, you get them from the berry trees. The shards, the best place to get them from is from the Pokewalker. And the berries are quite useful because you can use them to heal status effects and heal certain problems with your Pokemon. They're basically like a money saver for potions. Another thing that's good about this game that they also used, was in Pokemon Pearl version, is the Pokemon transfer system. Although the transfer system, in my opinion, has one major flaw. If you have a copy of Pokemon Red version, Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, or Leaf Green, you can actually transfer Pokemon from your Game Boy Advance games so you can fill up your Pokédex. This is a pretty useful feature, but it only has one major flaw as far as I'm concerned. Once you've transferred the Pokemon from the Game Boy Advance cartridge, there is no way to transfer them back. So be careful when you transfer your Pokemon. But other than that, it's a really good feature. Once you get to a Pokemon Center, you can also trade Pokemon from Pokemon Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum. This is also a really good way of getting certain Pokemon you can't get really early on. In Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Soul Silver and Pokemon Heart Gold, each game has different exclusive Pokemon. And one of the exclusive Pokemon on Heart Gold was Dawnfang. So I had to trade a Dawnfang for my Pearl version so I could use it in my party. So this was a pretty good idea. So I really liked that. Throughout the game there's 16 different gyms, and most of them have a pretty easy strategy to figure out. Anyway, I'm back YouTube now. Let's just talk about the gyms. Most of the gyms are pretty easy to figure out, and most of the gyms follow a certain type. Example, some gyms have bug Pokemon, and some gyms have fire Pokemon, and so on and so forth. But the last gym of the game, gym number 16, you fight against the old Pokemon Master from the previous Pokemon League, and his team is pretty well balanced. It's quite challenging because he's got such a well balanced team. The gyms can be quite hard depending on which starter Pokemon you pick. For example, when I started the game, I picked Chikorita, and when I came up against the first gym, which was the Flying Gym, it was really hard, and I had to go off and capture an electric Pokemon just so I could pass it. Whereas my sister, since she chose Cyndaquil, she passed it really easy and she didn't have to capture any other Pokemon. So the gyms in the game, most of them are quite challenging depending on which starter Pokemon you pick. There's also 2 different Pokemon Leagues. The first Pokemon League is after defeating the first 8 gym leaders, and it's pretty easy until you get up to Lance. Lance is one of the most difficult Pokemon League Masters I've ever fought before, because he's very, very cheap. He's one of the cheapest Pokemon League Masters I've ever been up against, because most of the time, if he's really low on health, 9 times out of 10 he'll whip out a full restore, and he has loads of these things. It's really irritating. So the first Pokemon League, it's quite easy until you get up to Lance. The second Pokemon League isn't really that bad, although there are quite a few changes. Most of the Pokemon League Masters have changed their team quite a bit, and you see Pokemon from different regions, and also their team are quite a high level. Although this time, I have no idea why, but Lance is pretty much a pushover and he's almost a jerk. So, yeah, that was kind of weird. I'm going to show off a short battle YouTube, show the battle system's like. Here we go. The battle system hasn't really changed that much in Pokemon games over the years. I mean, Pokemon Soul Silver, it's the same as it always used to be. It's a simple turn-based battle system. You take turns in attacking each other and healing each other. This is my Noctowl, one of my best Pokemon, so I'm going to use... Now, as I was saying, YouTube, but each Pokemon has 4 attacks, and uses attacks to beat your opponent. Each Pokemon takes turns until the battle is over. So I can get Noctowl to use Extensive, which should take care of Earth Ring pretty easily. Because my Pokemon are quite high level, because at the moment I'm training to beat the final trainer known as Red. And that's basically how the battle system works, YouTube. It's a pretty simple battle system, and it hasn't really changed that much. At all. One little cool thing they've added in from Pokemon Yellow is now you can talk to your Pokemon anytime you want in your quest if he's in your top slot. Which is quite a nice little feature. Throughout the game, there's lots and lots of dungeons. One of my least favourite dungeons when I was a kid was the bloody ice tunnel, and it used to take me hours and hours to get through this godforsaken place. But when I came across it in the new game, I found it pretty easy. The game designers have also added in some bonus dungeons for new players. Example, you can now go through Scene Forum Island and capture Articuno, which you couldn't do in the original Pokemon Silver. They've also added in some new legendary Pokemon. You've got Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, even Mewtwo, although Mewtwo's kind of pathetic and he's not even worth finding. So there's lots of new legendary Pokemon that have been added in. The starter Pokemon this game are also really good. The one that I always seem to pick is Chikorita, although Chikorita is... Okay, I'm back, YouTube. Sorry about that. I just had to sort something out. Now, as I was saying, the starter Pokemon this game are also really good. When I started the game, I chose Chikorita, which is one of the hardest choices for the game because most of the gyms Chikorita is quite weak to. Probably the easiest choice is Cyndaquil because he's pretty much good against most of the gyms. And the midway choice, if you want the game, so like middle difficulty, is probably Totodile. Anyway, YouTube, I've run out of time, so in the next part I will hopefully finish off the review. Bye!